Did you think you knew everything about Rambo? Get ready to discover the most shocking secrets behind one of the most influential action films in cinema. In 1982, a film forever changed the face of the cinematic hero. But what you didn't know is that behind every explosion, every chase, and every epic moment, there were stories even more incredible than the fiction itself. Join me on this fascinating journey through the most surprising facts about Rambo: First Blood. 1. The alternate ending you never saw. Can you imagine a universe where Rambo dies in his first film? Well, it came incredibly close to happening. The creators filmed a completely different ending, where the protagonist didn't survive his confrontation. In this lost version, after his emotional collapse, Rambo makes a fatal decision. Colonel Trautman is forced to take definitive action that would have closed the character's story forever. When they screened this version to test audiences, the reaction was so negative that the studios panicked. Viewers left upset and even furious. That very night, they decided to change Rambo's fate forever. Without that last-minute change, we would never have had the sequels we know and love. 2. The 3-hour nightmare that destroyed Stallone. Before becoming the masterpiece we know, First Blood was a 3-hour disaster that nobody could stand. The first cut was so long and confusing that Stallone seriously considered abandoning his acting career. The initial edit was plagued with unnecessary scenes, endless dialogue, and a pace that would put anyone to sleep. The private screenings were authentic torture for everyone present. Stallone reached the point of wanting to personally buy all the rights to the film to prevent its release. It's a total failure. He confessed to those close to him, "I've destroyed everything I've worked for." But instead of giving up, he took control of the editing. For weeks he worked day and night, ruthlessly cutting every unnecessary scene until creating the 93-minute version that revolutionized cinema. 3. The real robbery that paralyzed filming. In the middle of filming in the Canadian forests, reality surpassed fiction in a terrifying way. A gang of criminals assaulted the props trucks, taking a complete arsenal of fake weapons valued at thousands of dollars. The most chilling thing is that these weapons were guarded by real military personnel. The thieves managed to bypass professional security as if it were child's play. The incident caused headlines in all the local newspapers and a massive police investigation. The producers feared that authorities would definitively cancel the filming for security reasons. To continue filming, they had to hire additional military surveillance that turned the set into a true fortress. Paradoxically, the prop weapons ended up more protected than many real military bases. 4. Kirk Douglas abandoned the project over an epic fight. Hollywood legend Kirk Douglas was originally chosen to play Colonel Trautman. His participation would have given incalculable prestige to the project. However, Douglas had a radically different vision of the character. He wanted Trautman to be the one who executed Rambo at the end, maintaining the darkness of the original novel. This proposal generated brutal confrontations with Stallone and the producers. The discussions became so intense that Douglas decided to abandon the project just days before filming began. His emergency replacement, Richard Crenna, was hired with practically no preparation time. Ironically, this forced substitution turned out to be the perfect choice to create the emotional chemistry that defines the film. 5. The suicide jump that fractured Stallone's ribs. During the filming of the famous cliff jump sequence, the entire crew assumed a stuntman would be used, but Stallone had other plans. "If Rambo must suffer, I must suffer too," he declared categorically, rejecting any stunt double. The jump was brutal. Stallone plunged into the void, hitting branches and rocks before violently impacting the ground. The impact fractured several ribs, leaving him barely able to breathe. Despite the unbearable pain, he continued filming without revealing the severity of his injuries to the crew. On screen, every groan of pain and every expression of agony are completely authentic. 6. The real punch that broke a nose on camera. During the intense police station escape scene, Stallone immersed himself so deeply in his character that he momentarily lost control. In a burst of interpretive fury, he threw a punch that connected with too much force against the stuntman's face. The sound of cartilage breaking was heard throughout the set. The scream of pain wasn't acting. It was the real reaction of a man with a broken nose. Instead of cutting the take, the director decided to keep the moment for its brutal and authentic intensity. After the scene, Stallone apologized profusely, while the stuntman, with blood dripping from his face, reassured him with laughter. Now that's commitment to character. 7. The original Rambo was a heartless psychopath. In David Morrell's novel that inspired the film, Rambo is a completely different character from the one we know. The literary Rambo is a ruthless killer without a trace of humanity. In the book, the protagonist systematically massacres police officers, soldiers, and innocent civilians without showing the slightest remorse. His body count exceeds 20 people, making him an authentic psychopath. This version would never have connected with audiences or become a symbol for war veterans. Stallone understood that he needed to completely humanize the character. The transformation from a soulless killer to a tragic hero was one of the most brilliant changes in the history of film adaptations. 8. 10 Years of Hell before reaching screens. From the novel's publication in 1972 until the film's release, 10 tortuous years passed full of failed projects and discarded scripts. More than 15 different writers tried to adapt the story without success. Some turned Rambo into an even more ruthless villain than in the book. Others transformed him into a political satire of the American system. Major directors and stars passed through the project like a curse. Warner Brothers, Columbia, and other studios got rid of the script as if it were toxic material. Only when Stallone took total creative control did the project find its definitive direction. His humanized vision of the character was the key to unlocking a decade of frustrations. 9. The stars who rejected being Rambo. Before Stallone made the role his own, an impressive list of superstars rejected playing John Rambo for various reasons. Clint Eastwood considered that the character didn't fit with his cinematic style. Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman felt uncomfortable with the violence in the script. Steve McQueen was ruled out due to his advanced age. Al Pacino showed interest, but wanted to turn Rambo into an even more unstable and volatile character, something the producers couldn't accept. If any of these legends had accepted the role, Rambo would have been a completely different character. Fate chose Stallone to create a unique and unrepeatable interpretation. 10. The first Hollywood film to conquer China. In 1982, China was a practically closed market for Hollywood productions. First Blood was one of the first American films to receive authorization for exhibition. The Chinese audience's response was extraordinary. Theaters filled to capacity. Rambo became a cultural phenomenon that transcended language and political barriers. This historic opening helped establish the foundation for Hollywood's subsequent conquest of the Asian market. Stallone went from being an American star to becoming a global icon. The success in China demonstrated the universal power of a well-told story about survival and resistance against injustice. 11. the snowstorm that became an ally. During filming in British Columbia, an unexpected snowstorm threatened to completely paralyze production. The crews were blocked and conditions became extremely dangerous. What initially seemed like a catastrophe transformed into a cinematic blessing. The snow and extreme cold created a perfect visual atmosphere for the sense of isolation and desperation the story required. The images of Rambo moving through frozen landscapes became some of the most memorable in the film. The hostile nature became an additional character that intensified the dramatic tension. Stallone insisted on filming under these extreme conditions to capture the authenticity his performance required. 12. The action film where nobody dies intentionally. Contrary to what many believe, Rambo doesn't deliberately kill anyone throughout the entire film. This was a conscious decision by Stallone to humanize the character. The only death that occurs, that of Officer Galt, is accidental. It happens when he loses his balance and falls from the helicopter during the chase, not from a direct action by Rambo. All the forest traps and Rambo's attacks are designed to incapacitate, not to kill. This self-imposed restriction demonstrated that extreme tension could be created without resorting to gratuitous violence. This approach allowed viewers to sympathize with Rambo as a victim of circumstances rather than see him as a villain. 13. The novel's ending that would have horrified audiences. In the original novel, both Rambo and Sheriff Teasle die in a brutal confrontation that leaves no survivors or hope. Rambo is mortally wounded and tries to turn himself into a human bomb for his last act of defiance. Without the strength to detonate the explosives, it's Colonel Trautman who must give him the mercy shot. This devastating ending would have prevented any possibility of sequels and would have left viewers completely emotionally devastated. The decision to soften this ending allowed the creation of a franchise that has endured for decades.